Hello students, welcome again to the brand new session at Educators Plus. I am Akarshi, your English faculty at Educators Plus. Okay, so today students, we are going to study some different questions, the previous year's questions. Again, the author's pattern will be same. I will be talking the questions about John Galsworthy, Shakespeare, Wordsworth, or Milton. Okay, so basically I'm focusing in some few sessions in the beginning on these 4 authors, because these authors are important from UGC net as well as from TGT and PGT point of view. Okay, so basically first of all in few sessions I will be focusing on these authors, and later we'll come up with more sessions based on different authors that are asked in your exams. Okay, so let's not waste time and begin the session today. Okay, so this was the question. So the question says that John Galsworthy ideas on drama are found in. So in of the 4 option में से John Galsworthy के जो ideas थे of the play or drama are found in. So was it found in the Inn of Tranquility, the Patrician, Maid in Waiting, or Indian Summer of a Foresight? Okay, so let's discuss what is the correct answer. So the correct answer to this question is the Inn of Tranquility. Okay, so basically the Inn of Tranquility is a collection of essay which features a prose pieces, which features 4 basically prose pieces on a number of subjects. Okay, and what are these subjects? It includes the subject of life, death, injustices of society, and Galsworthy's viewpoint on dreams. Okay, so life, death, injustices in society, and Galsworthy view on dreams. Okay, so these were some of the subject or some of the basically points or subject on which this in the Inn of Tranquility is based on. Fine. And what about and what it depicts? Basically, it depicts the ideas of Galsworthy on dreams that I've already told you, and this is a very important point that it basically. So, if the question comes that which of the following Galsworthy dream subject of Galsworthy dreams and based on basically it is based on the Inn of Tranquility. Okay, and also remember that much of the essays were originally published in periodicals including the Fortnightly Reviews, you can say that English Review and Atlantic Monthly. So these were some of the journals in which his essays have been published. Okay, so let's move ahead. And basically if you just want to know about that Indian Summer of a Foresight, okay, let's talk about Indian Summer of Foresight. So basically Indian Summer of Foresight, as you can see from the name also, it is understood that it is a part of a Foresight Chronicles. Okay, we talked about Foresight Saga, so basically it is a part of Foresight Chronicle. It is a part of Foresight Chronicle. Just remember this point, it's a very important point. And also remember that it is the first interlude in the first volume, okay, which is known as the Foresight Saga. So as I told you that Foresight Saga was a collection of 3 novels and 2 interludes. So this was one of the first interlude of the volume, that is Foresight Saga. Okay, it is a first interlude. Just remember this point. Fine. Now, as we are moving with the question and answer, you are coming to know more and more about Galsworthy, Milton, Wordsworth, and Shakespeare. Okay, so a lot of secrets, you can say the skeletons are coming out of the box. So you can see a lot of secrets have been spilled out. So you have now uncovered what is the first interlude in the Foresight Saga, that is Indian Summer of a Foresight. Fine. Let's talk about Maid in Waiting. Okay, so basically Maid in Waiting is the first book in the final volume of the that is Foresight's Chronicle, which is also known as the end of the chapter. Fine. So just remember that it is also known as end of the chapter. Okay, it is also known as end of the chapter. Please remember this point. Again, it's a very important point. You should be remembering this particular point. Okay, now let's talk about the Patrician. Now, what is a patrician? So basically, a patrician is one of a very few novels of Galsworthy which are not part of the Forsyth Chronicles. Okay, so in the examination, in the exam, it can be asked that which of the following work is not a part of a Forsyth Chronicle. If in the option the patrician is there, then it will be the right answer. Okay, and it is also the final book in the trilogy called, which is a trilogy called Worship Society. Okay, it is a name of a trilogy called Worshipful Society. It is the main part of the Worshipful Society. Fine. Are you getting these points? Please remember these points. They are very important from the examination point of view. You should remember that it is a part. The patrician is a part of a worshipful society. Okay. Okay. Now let's move to the next question. Okay. Okay. So we will be moving ahead with the session now. So the first question for today's session is that in which year the Prelude was published. Okay, so this was something we have already discussed. I have already told you why I am repeating this concept, because I want these concepts to be cemented in your mind. Okay, you should not forget till the time you are preparing for any exam of UGC of English. Okay, or maybe it is UGC NET, PGT, TGT, or any MA or SET exam, whatever it is. Fine. So please tell me in which year the Prelude was published. As you know, it is a recorded class because I am out of station. So basically when I'll be taking the live classes, so you cannot access the chat right now. So I want you to answer in your notebook so you can trace your, practice, how much in what level you are standing right now. Okay. So please answer this question in your notebook. Okay, let's move ahead. The correct answer is 1850. Okay, so in the year 1850, Prelude was published. Now let's talk about again something about Prelude. I have already repeated these points. I'm repeating it again for those who are watching it for the first time. So the Prelude, it is an autobiographical epic poem in blank verse. Okay, it is an autobiographical epic poem. Okay, in which form? It is in blank verse. Just remember that. Okay, it is in blank verse. Fine. And it was published posthumously in 1850. Okay, published posthumously. Okay, published posthumously. Why? Because, no. First of all, tell me that what do you mean by posthumously? Okay, so basically I just want to make it clear that you should remember what is posthumously. Posthumously means when the author is dead. When the author is no more, this work was published. It was not published when the Wordsworth was living in this world. Okay, so when Wordsworth died, after that this work was published. Fine. Okay, now next point is that it is originally planned as an introduction to another work, that is which is actually divided into 14 sections or books. Okay, so it is divided into 14 sections, or you can say that books. Fine, it's divided into 14 sections or books. Also remember that Wordsworth first began the work on the poem is about basically when he began this poem, it is the year 1798. 1798 when it was Wordsworth began the poem. Okay, and the poem begins in the boyhood of Wordsworth. Okay, so basically Wordsworth traces his growth as a individual in this in the lap of nature, how he has grown, how he has been communion with the nature, how nature has guided him, has been always been a caretaker of Wordsworth in his life. Okay, so he has described all these events in this particular work, that is a Prelude. Okay, and also remember that by the later date he felt that his formative years have passed, that his poetic powers were mature, and that he was ready to begin constructing a huge parent work. Okay, so when he just understood, he first of all started writing as a boyhood. When he felt now his poetic power had been mature, now his senses in all into communion, then he said that he actually organized this work into a huge parent work. Fine. Okay, that is all about Prelude. Let's move ahead. Okay, so now this is the next question which you have to answer. That is, which of the following flowers does the mad Ophelia not give away? ठीक है, ऐसे कौन से flowers थे that mad Ophelia, ठीक है, mad Ophelia in which play? You should know that mad Ophelia was in part of which play? It is a part of Hamlet. Okay, she is a character in Hamlet. Okay, so you have to tell me that which of the following flowers does the mad Ophelia not give away? Is it violet? Is it are they pansies? Are they rosemary or columbines? You have to tell me that. Okay, please answer in your notebook, and I want everybody to just participate and get your answers right, because ultimately it will definitely boost your confidence to answer in the exams. Okay, so please participate. Okay, so the right answer is violet. So violet is a flower, and in which the scene appears in, it appears in Act 4. It appears in Act 4. Okay? So basically in Act 4, following the death of Polonius. And who was Polonius? Polonius was the father of Ophelia. Okay? He was the father of Ophelia. In when after death of Polonius. Okay, so Polonius is the father of Ophelia, and after his death, she started to offer flowers. She started not to give some flowers, and which were the flowers? The flowers were violets. Okay, these were the violet flower. Also remember that spurred by the lover Hamlet. Okay, so in Hamlet was a lover of Ophelia, who himself seems to have lost his mind and left alone in a castle with no one on his end. There was nobody on his end, and nobody was ready to trust Hamlet. So Ophelia, as a lover, okay, grips her hand, and he actually brings Hamlet to reality. Okay, loses her grip on reality, and both this Ophelia and Hamlet were shown as a mad character. Both have lost their senses, and both are not enacting in their sensation. Fine. Okay. Now, as the play proceeds, okay, so as it prances through the halls of the halls of the particular that castle, and she was singing songs. Okay, Ophelia was singing songs that ranges from childish to bawdy to mature people. Okay, and she passes out invisible flowers. So whatever, she was walking on the hall and she was singing songs, she was not in the senses, and she was passing the flowers to whoever she was meeting throughout the way. Okay, she was meeting a variety of people, and that actually signifies, the offering of flowers signifies her complex personality. Okay, it can be a varied meanings can be put into paper, and this also suggests, or this also denotes her complex personality. And what kind of flowers she actually passes by? She passes pansies, rosemaries, fennel, columbines, and daisies. All these are the flowers she passes by to people whom she met during the walk in a hall. Okay, and also Ophelia said that she has no vision left, that she cannot see the future. She is totally visionless. Okay, everything is gloomy in front of her. Okay, she is not having a clear vision on what to be followed in the future, and that all has withered when her father died. And why she has lost the senses, why she has become visionless? Because her father has died and she doesn't know what steps to follow in the future. Okay, also remember this violet flower. Okay, the violet flower which she was offering also is a symbol of modesty. Symbol of modesty. Okay, it is a symbol of modesty which is often, okay, tied to the Virgin Mary, which is of this modesty symbol has been tied to Virgin Mary, who, by implying that Ophelia has longer cares about the upholding shallow social norms of the way, okay, of England. So she was not able to hold up the social norms in such a devastating tragedy of his life that she lost her father, and this offering of violet flowers denotes modesty. Fine. Okay, let's move ahead. Fine. Next question comes that which literary period was started by Wordsworth and Coleridge? It's a very easy question, and I have repeated it several times whenever I talk about Wordsworth, to which age he belongs to. So you must be knowing the answer to this question. Okay, both Wordsworth and Coleridge were friends, and they were responsible for starting that movement. And what was the movement? And that movement and the period both are having the same name. So tell me which period it is. Is it Romantic? Is it Victorian? Is it Middle English? Or is it New Classicism? Okay. Just answer in the notebook, because it is a very easy question and you must be knowing the answer, and I go how everybody got it right. Yes, it is Romantic period. Okay, so now Romantic period began around 1798. So 1798 में Romantic period began हुआ था, and till when it lasted? It lasted around 1837, and in 1837 Victorian rule came. Queen Victoria started ruling. That time Victorian age began. Okay, so you just remember the time period of Romantic age. It is 1798 to 1837. Got it? Am I making myself clear? Okay, so now the political and economic atmosphere of the time heavily influenced this period. So there was a lot of political upheaval. There was French Revolution, from which the Romantic movement was inspired. So this was actually having a very heavily weightage in this period. Okay, and many writers, as I told you, found inspiration from the French Revolution. Okay, so French Revolution was very much dominant. Okay, so the French Revolution was very much dominant, and many writers got inspired. Even Wordsworth got inspired from French Revolution. Now, what are the main features of this age? So basically, the main features of the age are the celebration of nature, and what were the other things? And basically, the other things were the common man. So basically, there was a celebration of nature and common man. Okay, so basically nature was celebrated, that nature natural elements were depicted in the works of the Romantic writers. Also the common man, when Wordsworth said that the language of poetry should be a simple language spoken by man. Okay, so everybody says that the common man is a man who feels all kind of emotions. Okay, and basically poet is one who feels extra emotion as compared to the common man, and that's why the language of poetry should be simple, because it is coming straight from the heart. Okay, and also the focus, this age focused on individual experience and idealization of women, and no embrace of isolation and melancholy. Okay, it's a melancholy, isolation that was not depicted. People were actually focusing, the writers were focusing on the individual experience and idealization. जो आपने senses से feel करा है, अपने senses से जो आपने feel करा है, वही आप अपनी poetry में include करोगे. There cannot be anything else. Okay, everybody has different senses. Okay, I might feel something from my senses in a different manner. You might be feeling something in a different manner. So our experience cannot be the same, right? So that's what it was actually. That's why it focused on individual experience and idealization of women. Fine. Okay. So now the next point is that Romanticism in English literature started with the works of William Wordsworth. Okay, so William Blake, William Wordsworth, Coleridge, these were some initial writers of the Romantic movement. Okay, so Blake, Wordsworth and Coleridge, these were the initial writer of Romantic age. Then came Keats, Shelley, Byron. All these people came later on. It was something the second half of the Romantic period. Okay, so basically in the first half these people ruled: Blake, Wordsworth and Coleridge. Got it? Are you getting what I'm teaching? Okay, so basically Wordsworth and Coleridge share a very strong and a very friendship for a long period of time, and they combined their work. Okay, so their combined work, they combined their intelligence, their knowledge into a work which is also known as lyrical ballads. It is known as lyrical ballads. Okay, so it is a collection of poems, and it is basically the first work to start the Romantic movement in literature. Okay, so let's talk something about Victorian age. As I told you, it began from 1837 when Queen Victoria came to the throne. Okay, so 19th century is considered as a golden age of English literature. Okay, so basically Victorian age is considered as the golden age of English. Okay, it is considered as the golden age of English literature. Fine. Okay, so and why it was considered as a golden age? Because because the British novels were very frequent into publication. Okay, so it was in the Victorian era that the novel became the leading literary genre in English. So in novels were proliferating, or it was coming into existence in a very huge number. Okay, everybody was into reading and everything. So that's why it is called as the golden age of English literature, because the writers who were writing during this age got a lot of fame. They become famous and people started reading their works. They got recognition. So that's why it is known as golden age of literature. Okay, please remember this point. And let's talk about मिडिल इंग्लिश. मिडिल इंग्लिश पीरियड. तो आपको पता होगा कि मिडिल इंग्लिश पीरियड कौन सा पीरियड था. सो बेसिकली मिडिल इंग्लिश लिटरेचर रिफर्स टू द लिटरेचर रिटन इन द फॉर्म ऑफ इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज नोन एज मिडिल इंग्लिश. ठीक है, ये लिटरेचर जो भी मिडिल इंग्लिश में लिखी गई है, दैट लिटरेचर फॉर्म द पीरियड नोन एज मिडिल इंग्लिश पीरियड, एंड इट इज बेसिकली अराउंड 12th century. इट इज बेसिकली अराउंड 12th century. ठीक है, ये आप याद रखना. इट इज बेसिकली अराउंड 12th century. Okay, also remember that during this time English became widespread and the printing press regularized the language. So before 12th century printing press was not there. So basically after arrival of 12th century, the middle English, when people started middle English, printing press came and the books again started proliferating in a huge number. So that's why it is all that's why middle English was also a celebrated period, because the printing press come and it regularized the language. Okay, now coming to the point, neoclassicism. So basically neoclassicism is coincided with the 18th century enlightenment. Okay, so basically जो 18th century का enlightenment था, that age is known as a neoclassical movement, and it continued late in the 19th century, lately comparing with romanticism. So basically restoration आया, फिर neoclassical age आया, फिर pre-romantic and romantic आता. So it is before romanticized, when it is an age where people used to follow a lot of norms, rules and regulation to write the literary works, and this was denied by the romantic writers, and that's why romantic movement become romantic age began in literature. Fine. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, now you have to answer the question that in the state of his blindness, with whom does Milton not compare himself. ठीक है, जब मिल्टन ब्लाइंड हो गया था at the age of 44, so उसको लगा कि so with whom does Milton not compare himself. Out of these 3 people, मिल्टन ने किसकी अपनी ब्लाइंडनेस अपने से इनमें से कंपेयर नहीं करी थी. You have to answer. Okay, please answer. You must be knowing the answer because it is easy one. It is not a very tricky one. Okay, so yes, the answer is Lycidas. So basically Lycidas is a poem by Milton. Okay, it is a poem by Milton which was written around 1637. Around 1637 this poem was written as a pastoral elegy. It was written as a pastoral elegy by Milton in 1637. Okay, and this Lycidas, to whom this Lycidas has been dedicated. So basically it was dedicated, it was written or dedicated in the, it was dedicated and written in the memory of Edward King. Edward King, he was a friend of Milton. It was written in the memory of Edward King, and he was a friend of Milton. And why he wrote? Because he drowned. Okay, when his ship sank in the Irish Sea off the coast of Wales. So he drowned and he died, and for his lamentation and for his as a memory, this Lycidas was written by Milton in 1637. Fine. Okay. So basically this Lycidas features 2 distinct volumes, and basically it is having 2 distinct voices, you can say that. And the first one belong to the the shepherd. Okay, the shepherd who is a pastoral shepherd, who he is actually voicing out himself. And second is the tone of Milton, because he also wants his death to also not go unlimited. So that's why he has written this elegy, and it has dedicated to his friend Edward the King. Okay. Okay, so now as you know that this is out and out, so these were the people, these 3 people are there to whom Milton compares his blindness. ठीक है, ये जो 3 थे blind, Thymiris blind, Meonites and Thyresis and Venus. So these were the people whom Milton has compared this blindness, and he has mentioned several times, and they were these people are mentioned several times throughout the Greek literature, ठीक है, including the epics written by Homer as well. Homer, Ovid, इन सब के Greek literature में these people have a mention. These people have a mention. Okay, and basically in his invocation at the beginning of the third book of Paradise Lost as well, Milton asked God to give him prophetic vision similar to that of these people. Okay, similar to that these people, and basically he said that with that vision I will be able to write a greatest work of all time, because as you know, the writers of England also used to derive inspiration from the Greek and literature of the classical literature. So the Milton also asked God to bless him with that power so that he can write the greatest epic of all time, and that's why he has written Paradise Lost. Okay. Also remember that Milton's invocation of these blind prophets is a reflection of his poetic opinion of his limitations. ठीक है, तो उसको ऐसा कुछ नहीं लिखना था कि जो out of the box हो. So that's why he was actually asking for blessing from God, so that he can only write what is accepted in the public. ठीक है, तो उसको ये also denote that limitation, that he was blind. He can only write what he can feel. He cannot write anything else which he has not felt. Fine. Let's move ahead. Okay, now answer the question that dash is the main theme of most of Galsworthy plays. क्या थीम होता है? मैं हमने बहुत सारे वर्क्स पढ़े Galsworthy के. We have read a lot of works of Galsworthy. So out of these, when you know the story, I have explained a lot of works as well. So out of so much knowledge you have gained in my lecture, so can you just tell me what is the theme? What is the main theme of most of the Galsworthy plays out of these four? Is it family history? Is it fraternity? Is it social problems of his time? Or is it romance? Okay, you have to answer the question. Okay, so write in your notebook. Okay, I will be solving that. So the correct answer is social problems of his time, and it is very evident as well, as I told you, that Galsworthy is famous for writing social tragedies. Okay, जिसमें वो social issues को portray करता है. ठीक है, he portrays the social issues of his time. ठीक है, so that's why he is also known as the his works or his plays contain social problems of his time. Okay. Also remember that so Galsworthy was in need of charity and understanding in the world today. So he wants to understand the world and why his world is like that, and he wanted to communicate that to the public through the medium of dramas. ठीक है, वो अपने around social issues को judge करता था, and then he used to write in his play and wants public to communicate through the medium of he wants to communicate his views to the people through the medium of drama. ठीक है. Also remember that Galsworthy believed that drama should be written with a definite purpose in mind. So इसका definite purpose क्या था कि to communicate the issues to people, to actually show the reality to people, and that was the motive of Galsworthy. Okay, and also remember that Galsworthy loved to deal with the situations. Okay, he never used to escape the situation. He used to deal with the situation, a factor which is one of the most essential of a good dream. So as I told you, the subject of his most of the plays is Galsworthy views on dream, and this was a part of that particular agenda. Okay. Also remember that his central situation, okay, his central situation is the moral or social problems at the bottom of the play. So moral or social problems को ज़्यादा focus करता था, and he want people to be morally upright. Okay, and he carried on his propaganda almost entirely in his all plays by situation. He used to bring such situation where he can show the reality to people and can discuss the social issue that has been, you know, projecting in the society. Fine, let's move ahead. Okay, the next question is that select from the following the name of the author on whose grave the words he chose himself are carved. Here is one whose name is written in water. ठीक है, ये किसकी ग्रेव में ये कोट मेंशन है? Here is one whose name is written in water. ठीक है, is it Keats, Byron, Milton or Swinburne? This is an easy one. You must be knowing that, and you must have read about it. Okay, so tell me which writer is famous, or in which grave this rhyme was written. Yes, I hope that most of you have got it right. It is Keats. Okay, so John Keats is the poet who requested to write these words on his grave. He wanted these words to be written on his grave, and basically, these line means that he will be forgotten soon as he has not done anything worth remembering. ठीक है, so इस line का मतलब क्या है कि basically he has not done something very important or ostentatious in his life, and he will be forgotten soon after his death. Okay, and why he has said so? Because it is a mention of water. Now what does the water do? As everything fades away with water, in same way he came and went, and his works will slowly fade away somehow or soon. ठीक है, that's why it has said that it's writ in water. So water क्या होता है, चीजें जो water में लिखते हैं it fades away. Okay, so he will be forgotten soon. That was the meaning of this particular line. Okay, and let me tell you something about John Milton, sorry, John Keats. And so you all know that like Wordsworth, Keats also is a romantic writer. So Keats is also a romantic writer, and he was famous for writing odes. He has written various odes like Ode to Melancholy, Ode to a Grecian Urn, Ode to Nightingale, Ode to Psyche. All these odes are written by Keats. Okay, and he died a very early death. He died in 25 years only. Okay, at the age of 25 years he died. So he died so early that he cannot write something very ostentatious to be remembered for the lifetime. Okay, that's why he said. Fine. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, now tell me, in which work of Wordsworth does the line "still sad music of humanity" occur? ऐसा कौन सा वर्क है वर्ड्सवर्थ का जिसमें हमें ये "still sad music of humanity" ये जो फ्रेज है देखने को मिलता है? इज इट टिंटन एबी, रेक्लूस, इमॉर्टैलिटी ओड एंड द प्रिल्यूड? किस वर्क में ये हमें मेंशन करा गया है ये लाइन? जस्ट टेल मी दैट. All these are works of Wordsworth, and they're very important. You should know the main theme, subject, all these works. So yes, the correct answer is Tintern Abbey. ठीक है, the correct answer is Tintern Abbey. So basically the full title of the poem is a line composed on a few miles. ठीक है, on a few miles that above Tintern Abbey. So that was the title of this work. Fine. So line composed upon the few miles above Tintern Abbey. Fine. And it is basically concluding poem of the collection that Wordsworth published with the friend Samuel Coleridge. Okay, so basically Coleridge के साथ उसने lyrical ballad लिखा था, which is a part of the lyrical ballad. Okay, and it is written by Wordsworth after the walking tour with his sister in a particular section of the Welsh border. So he went to on a walk with his sister Dorothy Wordsworth. The sister's name was Dorothy Wordsworth, and this was written as the conclusion of their walk and discussion. ठीक है. Also remember that this poem may either be categorized as an ode or a dramatic monologue, because the poet keeps on telling the experiences of his life. He started from he actually went to an abbey in a childhood, and it is written in blank verse with each line having the syllabus. It is written in blank words. As I told you, most of the Wordsworth writing are written in blank verse. So just remember that the prelude, which is also the work of Wordsworth, is written in blank words. Okay, and remember that after basically offering a wonderful description of the mesmerizing basically landscape around him, Wordsworth goes on to expand his theory of pantheism. We have discussed in one of the lecture what do you mean by pantheism. Okay, so basically pantheists believe that God is everywhere. God can be in this pen, God can be in this boat, God can be in the walls around me, God can be in anything. Okay, God doesn't reside in only temples and idols. It doesn't reside over there. God is in nature. Okay, so basically he actually expounds on his theory of pantheism, and he ended this poem with an appeal to the listener to be united with nature around us. So he wants the listeners or his readers to be in communion with nature, because that's how the nature will be guiding you towards the right path. Okay, so this was all the poem Tintern Abbey is all about. Okay, so let's discuss the next question, that who describes William Shakespeare as an upstart crow beautified with our feathers. Okay, so you have to tell me the critic who said that William Shakespeare is an upstart crow beautified with our feathers. So tell me, is it John Lilly, Robert Greene, George Peele, or Christopher Marlowe? Okay, out of these four, who said this thing for Shakespeare? Who said this thing for Shakespeare? Okay, yes. Okay, so I hope you have got it right. So yes, it is Robert Greene. Okay, so Robert Greene was a person who said this thing. Basically, this line is an attack. Okay, it is an attack accusing Shakespeare of repeated plagiarism. Okay, so repeated plagiarism because these were some university wits. ठीक है, उनको लगता था कि because of their intelligence, the way of writing, Shakespeare emerged as a writer. Because Shakespeare, they used to think that Shakespeare has followed their style and become famous. So he is described as an upstart crow because he has taken inspiration from them and has become famous. And he was beautified with the R feather. R feather means university wits. These were university wits, and George Peele was also one of the university wit. Fine. Also, the pamphlet was written by Robert Greene. You already know that. And it was named as Green Growth Word of Wit. So Green Growth Word of Wit is the name of this pamphlet. ठीक है, ये आप याद रखना because it's a very important point. Okay, and also remember that Robert Greene is also one of the university wits. George Lilly, George Peele, and Christopher Marlowe. All these are basically these all are university wits. ठीक है, ये सारे के सारे university wits है, तो आप इसको याद रखना. These all are university wits, and they were also the part of the group critics. Okay, they also critics भी थे, university wits भी थे, and they have a cordial relationship with Shakespeare, with Peele even collaborating with him on his play Titus Andronicus. So George Peele actually collaborated with Shakespeare to write the play Titus Andronicus. ठीक है, so अब ये याद रखना कि ये criticism किसने दिया था? It was given by Robert Greene. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, so now this is the question that which of the following poets wrote during Victorian period was not published until the 20th century. ठीक है, कौन सा ऐसा पोएट है जिसने विक्टोरियन पीरियड पे अपना वर्क लिखा था बट इट वाज नॉट पब्लिश अंटिल 20th century? विक्टोरियन पीरियड वाज 19th century. याद रखना, विक्टोरियन पीरियड वाज 19th century. उसने 19th century वर्क लिखा था एंड इट वाज पब्लिश इन 20th century. हु वाज द पोएट? टेल मी. Okay, I hope you know the answers and you have got it right. Please try to answer it correctly because this is how you will polish your preparation and will feel the loopholes that you are actually having right now. Okay, so yes, the answer is George Manley Hopkins. So Hopkins ने ये एक work लिखा था in 19th century and that was published in 20th century. So basically Victorian literature refers to the English period during the Queen Victoria, and I have already told you it is a period from 1837 to 1901. Okay, this is a timeline of Victorian period, and the 19th century is considered by the same name, Victorian age. And as I told you in the previous question that it is also known as the golden age of English literature because the British novel, because of the British novel, there were proliferation of the British novel, and even the novel became the leading literary genre in English. That's why this age is known as the golden age of English. Fine. And basically you should remember about Hopkins that Hopkins was an English poet and a priest. He was also a priest and a poet whose fame placed among the reigning Victorian period. So whose posthumous fame? So वो famous हुआ था after his death. Okay, who got famous after his death in the Victorian period, and he has invented a very important rhythm known as sprung rhythm. Just remember that. ठीक है, he has invented the sprung rhythm. You should remember this thing because it has established, and this sprung rhythm has established him as an inventor, as to be praised, praised God through vivid use of literary and nature. ठीक है, so literary devices वो use करता था, and he used to talk about nature. He used to talk about different imagery of nature. So that's why this sprung rhythm is all about. Okay, so now let's move ahead. Okay, So this is your bonus question. Okay, so this is the question for your homework, because you have to, okay. One thing more. So one of the famous poem of Hopkins is The Wind Hover. The Wind Hover is one of the famous work of Hopkins. Please remember the name. Next is Milton begins Paradise Lost book 1 with. So जो Milton ने Paradise Lost लिखा था, it is an epic poem in blank verse. It begins with what? With a lament, or with an invocation, with soliloquy, or with a refrain. Okay, you have to tell me out of these 4 options which is correct about Paradise Lost, which is written by Milton. Okay, so yes, this is all about today's session. So we have discussed different concepts again regarding to those authors which we were discussing in my previous lectures as well. And we are basically what is the agenda in these lectures, that we are cementing the base of a particular author, because these authors are very important when it comes to an example literature. Even if you pick papers or previous year's questions of any exam, you will find these authors to be very much prominent in these examinations. So that's why my agenda is to basically make you a master of these authors, that any question from these authors are posed in front of you and you will be answering like a pro. Okay, so please do this question, homework question. Please research about the Paradise Lost and answer this question. I will be giving you the answer in my next session with proper explanation. Okay, so till then, bye bye, take care.